Okay, good evening. Let's call the October 28, 2013 Finance Advisory and Audit Committee to order. Can we have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Chair Chu,
Here.
Vice Chair Ryan. Here. Committee Member Miller. Here. Member Standish. Here. Member Johnson.
Here.
And then we also have Mr. Cutley and Mr. Hill in here. In attendance. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Cheryl, second by Liz. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just had one thing. I'm wondering if people would like to combine A and C for under discussion. I mean, I think it might save time. Because all the financial statements for September are year to date, so you get all the expenses. And do we really need to separately discuss?
No, but we wanted to make sure you have everything.
Thank you, but I'm just, however the committee feels about it.
Will we make a motion to combine A and B?
A and C, yeah.
Okay. Motion by Liz to combine 5A and 5C. Do we have a second?
I'll second. Jim second.
Sure, Jim second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, back to the main motion, approval of agenda. Do we have a motion?
We did that.
We did? Okay.
Yeah.
All in
No, we
favor?
didn't vote on approving it, or did we?
Yes.
No, I make a motion and you second
Second.
it.
And now,
We approved the amendment, now let's back to the main motion.
Right.
All those in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, consent agenda, 2A. Do we have a motion to approve August 26, 2013 meeting minutes?
I make the motion. I'll second.
Motion by Eunice, second by Cheryl. Any discussion, any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's see, old business, A, B, and none. Discussion, we have 4C. Discussion related to establishment of a town road resurfacing policy. Let's see. So we have the amended, the addendum number 1, the amendment that it's been changed to, we have C1. Right? Discussion related to town.
The town assuming debt
Assuming debt
service.
service
Yeah.
road transfer from Maxwell Grove Water Control District. Okay. We have some attachment by Mr. Underwood. You want to watch through?
I can, it's very short and sweet. By no means is this full exposure of the discussion, but basically, in looking at town resurfacing and Loxahatchee roads, and the roads are being transferred or are transferred, how do we accommodate that debt so that all the residents are treated equally from this point and forward? And the first thing that came to mind, or the first thing that popped up, is the town's charter appears to have provided for a concept of merging other governmental entities. And specifically, the Loxahatchee Grove Water Control District could become a dependent district or just dissolve into the town. If that were to occur, according to the charter, section, it's on page 15 of the charter, section 5B, it quotes at the bottom of my memorandum of October 27th, the town may assume all outstanding indebtedness related to facilities if it acquires from other units of local government and be liable for the payment thereon in accordance with its terms. So whatever the discussion was at the time of the charter structure, there was some thinking that something was going to happen with another government. I don't know, maybe Loxahatchee was going to plan on taking over Palm Beach County. rural Palm Beach, Wellington, but there was something in the background. So that was the first. Secondly, the town could provide an annual, in an effort to purchase the roads, and I would call that purchase of the roads, would be annually pay its pro rata share of the debt relative to construction of the roads. And I go into more detail, but that was basically, could have been some change orders, but the information we had was roughly 61.53% of the bond issue the district did went to OGEM, the roads in discussion. That was 1.6 million, which would equate to about $188,000 a year. The Loxahatchee Groves Transportation Fund could afford that, and it would leave a balance of about 178 that the town could use to do more roads. Finally, the other option would be for, as you're probably all aware, when we did the budget, we put $1.8 million in the capital improvements for infrastructure. Most of it, or all of it, was transportation related. We could change the budget, change the comprehensive element, or the capital element in the comprehensive plan, and actually reallocate what's needed and just pay the loan off. I don't know, I have not read the loan documents in sufficient detail to know if there's any prepayment penalties, but if there's not, that would be a third option, and that would take care of that aspect.
What's the interest rate on that loan?
3.06, which is a wonderful rate. I love the rate.
But let me ask you, where did you get the 1.599
Out of the contract documents that
For
the district did with.
for the paving?
Yeah,
Okay, but the 2.6
Yes.
also included other costs of the district. There were 3 years of preparation work that the district did for those roads that was not included in that. A lot of it was rock, road surface rock that went, into the roads.
I would not have knowledge of that. I did not see in their minutes where they did a resolution of intent to reimburse anything. So I would presume that anything that they did prior to 90 days within the closing of the loan was not eligible for reimbursement, according to the IRS. I could be wrong.
You could be wrong, yes. Yeah, no, the district does have an accounting for that, and, but it's my understanding in round numbers that the 2.6 million was for the roads and also for a landowner culvert, which was replaced on D Road that the residents there are being assessed for. And then there's 300,000 that was put into reserve. And that's to pay for repairs, future repairs to the OGEM roads. And then the other expenses were district expenses, which were charged to the, to the road project and booked to the road project.
I was not taking into account drainage.
And reimbursed on a monthly basis, from the loan account.
I didn't take into account any drainage, so the culvert was not.
Well, the culvert was not really related. The 2.6 million included one project that was not related to the roads, which cost about $90,000. So it was really 2.5 that was borrowed for the roads, minus the 300,000. And then, because the thing is, that note has to be paid back by the district, and it does have to be assessed to the landowners on the roads who voted for it. So, if they wanted to pick up or assume the entire note, it would, the district could give you a breakout on what that would be, or John will, sit down and go over it with you, so you understand what was done. But basically, the 1.599 was the contract that they
For
said.
just the OGEM.
It did not include engineering services, it did not include any surveying
No.
expenses, it did not include legal, it did not include the road rock that was if
Well, there
anybody
there was
was
about-
on any of those roads when they dumped all the rock on it.
There was about 200,000 in cost of issuance. There was 181, I didn't know what it was for, it's just the cost of issuance, and then it was for the two attorneys, Caldwell and Setting.
Was that in the 1599 or?
No, that's above.
No. Okay, all right, yeah. And there
No,
was,
no, that was in the 1.5. No, that was in the.
John said he
2.6.
thought that was the contract.
That was in the
That's where you got it,
2.6.
it's from the contract. So, you know, and we can get a detailed explanation, but I think we shouldn't tell the town that it would only be 188,000. That
Well,
would,
all I was
to
doing was
assume
apportioning,
indebtedness.
just apportioning the Hart construction
yeah,
relative to that. The 2.6, I don't know what the whole breakout obviously was. I know that there's $1 million floating around that was used for cost of issuance and rock and engineering and other stuff.
plus 300,000 that was held in reserve, plus
And 300.
9,000, which was spent on a culvert for which there's a separate assessment to those landowners. It wasn't a part of the road project, the culvert failed and was blocking the canal, and so the district gave the residents the option of replacing it themselves, or the district would do it, because it, you know, we couldn't drain. But it had nothing to do with this, the road improvement, it was just simple.
And I think even with that, it's 305,000 is the total, roughly.
That's the total amount of the note, yeah.
Right.
But,
Per year, and if we get 366, it just wouldn't leave much left over.
no, it wouldn't,
Right.
no.
And I think, I think the preference would be to make the district dependent, so that all that roll into one happy issue. As it is, annually, we would have to rely on the council to appropriate
Right,
the entire amount to make that work.
right, no, I know.
And
Well, is that your recommendation to the council to make the water district dependent?
I have,
I'm not advocating either one.
at
I'm
one
just asking
point,
you a
I
question.
thought the district, if it was doing water control, that was probably a good place for it to be. I think that the overlap and the structure probably would be better served currently with a dependent district or a dissolved district into the town.
I think we should not get into this discussion because this
Yeah.
is beyond this group. And then I
It's
think
beyond this
we're
group.
here looking into options. Number
Yeah,
one,
but I think part of the option, excuse me, Jack, but I think part of the option is what do we do with this crew of maintenance people that the water district has? I mean, we want government light, which means everything's by contract, have no employees, no benefits, no health costs, none of this, but yet they've got a crew. So how would we handle that?
Can I-
That's the question.
Yeah, I
Well,
understand.
yeah.
I think that is a very valuable subject of discussion. For the benefit of this meeting today, I think our agenda is on, can we pay? If yes, how? Can we not pay? Why and how? I mean, we need to understand that. Whether or not the two entities should merge is a separate issue, is beyond us.
Yeah.
Because
way
there
beyond
is
that.
only
Well,
there is only a consequence, a side effect of it that we could take over the payment. So I think that issue is separate, it's beyond, I mean, it doesn't belong to us because it belongs to both governing boards.
Yeah, but contrary to your position, that was the number one position, is the charter envisions something like that.
I understand, but we are not talking about the charter, okay? I mean, we're talking about the.
Well, solution to the problem is what do you do with the debt?
And the answer to his question is the charter does allow for the town to have employees.
Yeah.
That is a myth that I think has been promulgated out there. Town can't have employees.
I would rather have let the town, the two governing body to let them lead the discussion. I think for the benefit of this group here, we should look into the dollar amount, what is available. And also the concept of why should the town pick up the cost for connecting canal?
Right,
And that, I think there's some idea floating out there. And whether or not the dollar amount is exact to the number, can we use it? I think it's premature because Mr. Underwood still have other questions that he's not privy to at this point. How much we should pay, should we pick it up? I mean, is it, can we pick up the debt, how we fund it? I think.
Well, I would not say that we can accept that we're taking over the debt, because.
No, I'm talking about,
Yeah.
if we
We
go
can make
into,
a subsidy to the
yeah,
district.
like, give the option, like, are we going back retroactively, or are we going to do it from now on? Those are policy decisions beyond us. I hope that our discussion today is to ask the management to give us different scenario. Number one, how much it's gonna cost? Can we afford? How are we gonna fund it? And if the district is gonna fund it, if not, why, then we have to go back to why the town is picking up the cost for collecting canal.
Okay, what's your opinion on that?
I have no opinion right now. I'm open, like the agenda said, that we're trying to see what are the options. If the town can pay or cannot pay, how and what.
What's the cost?
Yeah, that's our question. That's why we are here today.
And I can tell you that you have $1.8 million budgeted in capital projects that you could, the council could say, move the money over that way.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Simple motion, a resolution, and away we go.
I think the issue is that we've got in our capital budget $1 million to spend for collecting canal taxpayer money, when a significant number of residents are paying for their own roads. So is that consistent, and is that, it's not consistent?
Well, it's not
And there's
consistent.
not really a logical explanation, for why we're doing this.
Yes, there is.
What is it?
The logical explanation is the fact that collecting canal, you only want to charge the people on the north side of that road,
Yeah,
and not both
they
sides
not
of the
charge
road.
both sides of the road.
So consequently, it's an unfair
It's unfair
deal.
to the people on collecting.
Plus the fact, if you don't OJM that road, or don't put speed bumps on it, or whatever you're gonna do, that would give a traffic lane to that state college that doesn't need to be there. You're creating another problem. In other words, if they're coming down Okeechobee, they come down any road, D road, then cut up Collecting Canal to shoot down so they don't have to mess with Southern Boulevard, you're allowing traffic to go on Collecting Canal that doesn't need to be on Collecting Canal. Let it go to Southern, come up Southern to the college. So it's a traffic problem also.
What, paving the road creates, or OJMing the road creates?
Doing nothing to the road,
Creates a traffic problem.
yes,
Why?
because it's a shortcut for anybody that wants to go that way.
But if they
You don't think they're just gonna come down B Road? You think they're gonna bother with D Road?
You don't know what they're gonna do.
That's right.
I think, Ken, you made a very good point. Earlier you said that, was it the south side of the connecting canal, cannot use it, it's not fair there. So I think the word fair is the key,
Right.
key concept here. Is it fair?
Well, I think it's not, the way that the units were
I don't
divided,
think
there isn't
I'm talking
any.
about, is it, when using the word fair, isn't the concept? If we're going to do it for connecting canal, is it fair to the rest of the residents in the grove that who are paying it now? And
Or
while,
who might want to do it.
yeah, I think I think fairness is a,
Equity.
yes, equity.
Yeah,
It's very important.
consistent is
Consistent,
what,
yeah.
yeah, consistency.
Yeah.
And I'm all about equity. I like equity.
My suggestion is that,
I don't know how everybody feels about that, but, it's like, I voted for the assessment on A Road. I don't mind paying it, I'm quite happy to pay it. But I think that if the town is gonna start paving, using my tax dollars to pay for someone else's road, then I'm paying for my road, and someone else's road. And that doesn't seem equitable.
I know, I would object as an owner.
Do a refund.
You're due a refund then.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an easy situation, but I think when I saw the $1 million in there going for collective canal, which is a very significant part of our capital improvement project. And,
But at the same time, beg your pardon, you're not being fair to the people on Collecting Canal because of the assessments. You're only gonna assess half of the land.
the collective canal, and that's a water control district issue, but it would be, the residents who would be paying for that would not only be the residents in that part of the district. Well, there's two things that need to be made clear. One is, the town has already said as a policy that no one will pay more than $100 an acre for their road assessment. It's consistent among everyone. And if it costs, that's what they're doing. The council passed that,
They appropriated $28,000.
that's the $28,000, and the reason for that was to
Purchase the
ensure
roads.
that the people are paying.
Purchase the
Well,
roads.
okay, but it was intended to offset part of the note so that everybody would pay the same amount. So that kind of takes care of that issue. So it's $100 an acre, whether you're on a road or you're on Collecting Canal or wherever you are. That's the fair part. I even have the breakdown of it.
Can I ask, just, I'm a little puzzled as only 2 items in one side of the canal would be assessed, because when the B Road referendum came about, it was everybody down through Global Trail and on the other side of the
Which
canal,
part
both
of
sides
B
of North Road.
I'd have to show you the
No,
maps.
I'm just wondering why only
Well-
one side of the canal would be assessed.
Because the Southern Boulevard corridor was set up into a separate unit. Everything south of Collecting Canal is in its own unit, and the assumption was that that the developer would pay the portion, like is gonna happen, the portion of B Road, and out here where this developer, just paved this as a result of having the medical center there. The assumption was that you would not put those acres into the units. So the units that were set up, were set up for everything north of Collecting Canal. Was broken up into a little box and the residents within that.
See, and there's not another area in the township of Waxahachie Groves that I know that has happened in. Is it?
There's not another one?
Where they are making the road, one part of it doesn't pay, the other part does pay.
You mean dividing into units?
Yeah. There's not another example of that.
You mean outside of Waxahachie Groves?
In
The
Waxahachie Groves.
Collecting Canal with the what you just explained. What you just explained where the south side doesn't pay, he says there's not another example of it in the town.
Tell me another example. If you was one, tell me,
And-
because I don't know of one.
An example of,
There's maybe A Road, did the other side pay or no? They didn't pay?
yes,
The other side of A Road, the west side
Sure.
paid?
sure. Basically, everybody's paying $100 regardless, who paid, but everybody it's difficult to explain this without being able to show you a picture, Ken, but, there are units that were developed, and everyone within that unit votes, and everyone within that unit gets assessed. That's the water control district's policy. And the town said, okay, we're gonna try to even that out for you, so that you don't have a situation where somebody, gets an unfair burden for the road that they're on. And it can't be more than, $100 an acre. I think there's slight differences in, because if the cost is more than 100, then they have to gross it up for other expenses. But I did get that from the district. But yeah, their units, the way the units were set up is all of the roads south of Collecting Canal are in their own units,
I know that.
with the assumption that everything north of Collecting Canal is also broken up into units with you know, an A road unit, a South A and a North A, and everybody in the roads is in some unit.
Well, when did the supervisors vote that it was only, we will only be assessed $100 an acre?
Supervisor didn't vote that. I don't know if
Who
they
did?
voted it. I don't know if the supervisors voted it. I guess they must have, because they voted on these, you know, they had to vote on the assessments.
Where did the $100 go?
I think they
Per acre?
From the
they
town.
use- Yeah, they use the actual, the estimated cost and divide it up
Yeah.
by the number of acreage. I think that was part of the presentation when they sent out all the votings.
No.
At the time.
When the people voted on their roads in each of the units, they were shown the actual costs. And so, like C Road voted on, South C was the biggest one that needed, because theirs was like $150.
But it was less than that, right?
Well, South B Road didn't vote for it.
South C Road.
South B Road.
Right, you're right, South C Road is what, did I say B Road?
No, you said C Road.
C Road.
But what I'm saying,
South B Road voted no.
that's correct.
Okay.
And Northview voted no either. Northview also voted no.
And North B Road voted it down too, so that's not, if they voted it down, that's fine, it doesn't, you know, affect one way or the other. But if they voted, you know, I don't think, I don't have any problem with B Road being paid if the money's gonna come from an outside source. The issue is when the town is gonna use our tax dollars to pave roads, then is that fair? When it's not fair, it's not.
Is it equitable?
It's not equitable. So, that's really what the issue was. But, you know, I, understand that you can argue with the logic of the units. And I don't have an
Rightfully
opinion.
so.
Well, I don't have an opinion on that one way or the other,
Yeah.
but it was,
Okay.
you know, something that a consultant did, and it was done in a public workshop and voted on, so.
Bill, for the benefit of the discussion, if we talk about number 2, do we currently have enough money to pick up, and how long we can pay it off?
The loans,
If you can assume everything, if we were to,
the loans, it's out to 2022. You're getting estimated $366,000 this year. With what has already been pledged this year out of gas tax, the answer is no. You would have to modify your plan. If you
Can you
want,
discuss that on page 2? What did the
I
answer?
think he's referring to item number 2.
the number is on page 2, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, 366, and then what's,
that's our current estimate of revenue coming into the gas tax. Realistically, I don't know that there's a mechanism. Most cities look at the transportation element as benefiting everybody in the unit.
It does.
I could be wrong. I mean, I have seen where you do assessments for roads that's been in a very limited scope. If we had one or two in Davie, that was very limited. Roads generally are for the public. And it may be a topic that you want to have a charrette or public input. You guys really want to take care of your transportation needs, and that means take care of your transportation needs. Some people want rock, okay, they get rock. Some people want, and the way it's paid for, it's almost like an assessment per acre, but it's really an assessment based on the value of the property, because technically, or if you think about it, you extend the thought pattern, if this infrastructure is there, the value of my property is improved, which is what you were asking a couple of meetings ago. How does the value improve? Well, now we have a road. Now we have 2 roads, or we have 3 roads, and we have some guardrail, we don't have some guardrail. We got some gravel, we don't have some gravel. But that is shared across the entire community. It's not just because you're on that road, you get it. That is the concept behind the community of a city is that you're there as a town or a city to provide public services. Public services are water, sewer, transportation, police, fire.
Isn't that usually where they get a bond?
Pardon me?
Isn't that usually where they get a bond? A bond?
Well, the town's charter,
No, I'm just saying other municipalities typically address that through a bond.
they would get a bond.
Right, but the town's charter,
The town's charter is very restrictive, which is not unusual. I've seen it in other cities and towns where you can do that, but you have to have a vote of the people. It's a referendum. That's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's just, that's the rule. And the issue is, does everybody want, what does everybody want out of the community? Do you want to be able to drive on gravel? Okay, do you want to be able to drive on dirt? Okay, you want to be able to drive on OJAM? People on OJAM are going to have a higher valued home than people, so theoretically, they're going to pay more through their ad valorem taxes. Would you not agree? If you've got water, sewer, electric, and a road, you're going to pay more than somebody that's sitting over there. They're on gravel, no water, no sewer, and no electric.
well, according to Lisa, our values went down when we got out.
Well, see, the point that you're bringing up right now
It seems to contradict.
is the reason why that I said a long time
And I
ago
had water too.
that the roads in total in Loxahatchee Groves should have been a referendum, vote up or vote it down, period. That way, all of them could have been done the same way, and if the people wanted it, by referendum with the majority, they could have had it. If they didn't want it, we left it the way it was.
I understand.
And,
I'm just telling you.
and
there is
we've
a
got the
value.
biggest mishmash of road system out there that you could ever dream of. And that's a disservice to all the voters, all the people who live here.
I understand. And if you're talking about equity, the equity is, here it is, what do you folks want? Everybody's going to use whatever road is there.
That's what I'm saying about collecting.
You know,
data.
so why is it that, and I would tend to think that somebody that's on an OGM road or a road that's got water, North Road, somebody that's got water is gonna have a better price on the value of their property versus somebody that doesn't.
Well, it costs you to hook up with, doesn't it?
I'm just,
Yeah.
and that would be the economic incentive for property values to increases that you've taken on this big task and you're doing something with it. But that,
No, the one thing I can see, just listening to Ken's side of the argument, I mean, this is just one point, it's not my point. I'm not for, I guess I'm just making an observation, based on Ken's comment about the college. We will have increased traffic in this town. The one thing that does annoy me about the college is that our way of life, our traffic will increase.
Why don't we focus on the college?
No, I'm about to get there on the cost, so this is where I'm going with the cost.
College is.
No, I'm talking about the road.
Okay.
Ken mentioned the road traffic. That's the OGM, and there's gonna be a cost there on those particular roads that have heavy traffic, so I'm just thinking in the future.
Yeah.
So when you ask the question about why should the town, I'm just thinking, the question is, why should the town pay for collecting canal? And again, not my opinion, I'm just thinking about what I've just heard you guys talk about. He's bringing this up with the traffic. There will be increased traffic. Who knows what those roads will be? More than likely, it will be collecting canal. I hope it's not my road, but collecting canal. So that would just be, if you're making a list of pros and cons, like say, just making a list of pluses and minuses, that might be one reason why the town should pay for collecting canal. I'm just saying, we have to look at the pluses and the minuses of the situation, not necessarily what our individual opinions are. That would be wherever you want to put that on the sheet.
The town council has a right has a legal right to vote for any road
Yeah.
that they want to
Oh,
vote for.
I understand.
And to pay for it or not to pay for it. That they certainly, nobody's questioning that. I'm just saying, that we do have a process by which people can decide whether to pay to OJ their road or not. You have an up or down vote, and if you vote no, that's fine. nobody has a problem with it. And if you vote yes, then you have to pay.
The only issue, the only,
No.
That's why, I say, I don't even know, that's why.
They did, well,
See, that's what I'm kind of trying to understand this.
And I would argue that that is probably the most inequitable system.
Why
because
is that inequitable?
Everybody's going to use the road.
oh yeah, I know.
So, everybody's gonna use the
I
road.
agree.
So how equitable is that? It's not.
I'd be happy if the town wanted to pick up the note.
I
But
understand.
you know.
I use North Road every day, every morning. There are a lot of cut-through traffic from Acreage.
Yeah,
Zoom, because I'm heading east, so I have to slow down for this.
I'm afraid to go out of my driveway, yes.
I pass through your house every morning. When you pull over, they don't even slow down, boom, boom.
Even on Folsom Road, they do the
I
same,
know.
and it's
I
annoying.
mean, we're paying and then we have to suffer.
They don't know
also.
how
I
to
think
pull
that's,
over.
we vote for.
That's our big number one problem in this town, is cut through traffic, period.
Like I said, I'm not trying to.
No, I'm trying to understand the question as it relates to what the product is, the cost and the product and the residents, and just listen to me, I understand how we've been assessed, and I see he's trying to say, should the town I mean, I assume we're talking about everything that's here, right?
I think for number one, I think it's premature for us even to talk about combining two entities because it's,
Okay.
one is created over 100 years ago. The other one was created 6-7 years ago. I think it's just like,
That's
I think
I
that,
think we're just talking, you
yeah,
know. we're
That's
just-
why I was trying to follow where we are, because we were here.
I think it's important for us, if we question the equity of using your and my tax dollar to pay for one section of the roadway, I think that concept has to be revisited. And,
Yeah, because the town doesn't have the money to pay for all the other roads that need to be paid. And when you pay for, what did happen when they did this on North Road was that B Road voted no, and a lot of people on, B Road, actually in the B Road unit, either live on North Road and they already have a paved roads, or the people north of the canal, they voted no, because they said, why would I want to pay for it? I'm already on a paved road. I can go over to A Road or I can go over to C Road.
And the other reason though is that, the other reason I heard too, just, people are afraid that either Seminole Pratt's gonna come through A Road or something. I'm serious, this is the other, seriously, people down there past Global Trail and on the other side, they're concerned that who knows, maybe the Calvary Judge Grove thing will stop them, but there's a fear that Seminole Pratt will connect into A Road or B Road, or even C. Everybody talks about D Road, but there's people who actually fear the other three roads. But anyway, back to this question then, I mean, what do we,
I think that
I was
idea
asked
is-
for some options.
Yeah,
Here
the
are some
idea was
options.
just to have a discussion and see how the committee feels about.
I mean, if you're asking for my advice, I'd say put a citizen group together, discuss whether you really want to be a town and whether you really want a transportation system, and how is it that you want to pay for it. The assessment system is probably not very equitable to whoever's being assessed for whatever.
That's right.
So what is an equitable assessment system? The only equitable, and it's probably not very good, is through a tax, ad valorem tax. So if your value's up, you pay a little more. If your value's down, you pay a little less.
And
So
just
if you-
lump it all into one pot, it all goes on ad valorem tax.
That's it.
to the town,
I
the money
think
goes to the
Yeah.
town.
That will be the supplement to the existing revenue stream. So we just discussed what is the money available now, how much can we take it out to pay part of it, the rest would go to either a bond or a tax, that would be have to be voted on by the residents. So I think it's important, number one, concept, if we think it is not equitable, how we can pay for it, how much we have to pay for it, for how long. I know those are all open items that.
Well,
someone
roads
can address.
generally, once you start, you're paying for them for the rest of your life. That's just the
Right.
reality. You start, and you've already started, it's just gonna come back, it's gonna come back. You're gonna be paying for roads
we're
Until
paying,
you move or you die.
we're paying for it anyway now.
I had a question here which I didn't understand on the first page.
Which memo?
The first page of
I think
your
it's
document.
your write-up.
The 27th memo?
Yeah, the October 20, just, and maybe it's irrelevant at this point now that we've had some of this discussion, but it just confused me as to number 2. Annually until 2022, the town budgets and appropriates a portion of OGIM road acquisition. I was a little puzzled by that, only because of all the meetings I've attended at the town and the water district where the roads are supposed to be turned over to the town without any financial expense. So did I miss something? Why would that be suggested?
I don't have that.
Could I say something?
Yes, you
Yeah,
may.
Cover
on the
yourself.
on the 3 options, to put it in a nutshell, option number 1, the reason the assuming the district was put in is that's the only mechanism the town has to take that loan, and
That's what
we
we
assume it. That's the only reason that
That's
option.
the only way they can.
Option number 2, it allows the town council to budget every year. We budget $28,000 a year right now to bring these,
To buy the roads.
those 4 roads, to buy that road. And that brought everybody's assessment down to the $100. Whatever the difference was between what their original assessment was and the $102, I believe it is. We brought everybody's, so all those 4 roads are paying basically the same amount per
What
acre.
4 roads?
North
four-
A,
four
North C,
segments that were-
South C, and North
Yeah,
D.
the 4 segments.
Oh, okay.
So in order to do what number 2 would be, is the town would take, if we took the 1.599, the town could budget $181,000 a year to pay that portion of the note. That would leave us roughly $178,000 of the gas tax money to spend on the other segments of district roads that aren't OGIM, because we maintain those, and all 28 miles of the town roads that we maintain. Or number 3 is the town takes the full loan amount of $2.6 million. The problem there is the town wouldn't have enough money that they'd collect from the gas tax to make the note payment. And if they did, there would be no money left to grade all the town roads and all 4 other roads of the district. That's the only option right now that wouldn't work, because the town doesn't, unless they're gonna budget from the general fund to make up for that.
Well, I recommended that the general fund could loan money to do that, and then pay it back from gas tax over a period of time. Do an advance. to the gas tax.
Those are the 3 options in a nutshell.
Financially, the town has enough resources. It's a matter of the preference where the council would like to. I think that has to be decision-making, we have to discuss. Not enough, we go on bond, get more L1 tax, that will be a given issue. But I don't think, I'm not sure we get anywhere tonight, other
It's a
than.
big topic.
It's big because it affects a lot of people. I'm seeing quite a few of the residents in the group in the town live on retirement. And I think that having them to pay while they're on fixed income, they vote for it, it's an equitable process. While another, on another role, that nothing happened to them, but they get the benefit of not paying. So it creates a very,
That's what happens now.
yeah.
Even if you're not on a fixed income, the inflation's gonna take care of the,
Except,
you're just
I
about
know,
your dollar.
the fixed income people.
But that's,
you
yes, that's
see it more.
critical.
You see it more,
Yes.
look at the healthcare cost, it was worried
Right.
about that. And it's just not right.
And I understand the other side too, where people have put out money and they've been assessed, so if, and I'm not joking when I say, well, it'd be great if there's a way to refund, it would be great if there's a mechanism to refund them or relieve them of that burden, because they have been paying in advance, and as you say, the other side is, well, as a town is supposed to maintain that, you've got 2 things you have to balance here. If it sounds like you're saying, hey, folks, or to the town council, it sounds like a transition has to take place, the town council just has to figure out how.
Speaking of refund, I took a 10-day vacation 2 weeks ago, went to Hong Kong and to China for a meeting. Part of the trip was, I was able to get $6,000 refund from the Hong Kong government
Why?
because they have too much surplus.
Oh,
So I
nice.
went to,
Yeah.
Was that a bad, how did you get 6,000?
because I had to wear it, I'm still a citizen there.
Uh-huh.
So all the citizens, is entitled to $6,000. So I went back to
That's why they
China.
can afford the real
I mean,
estate.
this is what happened. And speaking of refund, yes, it does happen. I was also in Vegas.
Do they use OJIB on their roads?
I don't really use Ojo. I use those little bottles.
I think it's a laudable topic. I think that the recommendation, you guys being in finance committee and auditing could make a recommendation to the council. If you're gonna take over the debt, the easiest way is just make it an independent district. That's easy.
Can we
It's
come
clean.
Can we come up with
Yeah,
some
but then you still
recommendations
have
tonight?
the road, that doesn't solve the problem of the inequity on the roads. Because
Well,
then, if they're a dependent district, then you keep all the assessments being paid by the
But
landowners.
at that point, the council can say, we're gonna do it.
I'd say just dissolve it, you know, make it a drainage district and transfer the road responsibilities, I don't know.
I think that-
Well,
that-
no, you two, that's an interesting point, you know, both sides of it, so that's an interesting point. And then what were you going to say about going with what she's, whether it's dependent or if you dissolve it, make
Well,
a district, the
once it's
town can do
dependent,
what?
The council is, they can say, well, okay, we've got this debt and we're not gonna assess anybody anymore.
Yeah, and the town would take over the debt.
In
They
effect,
have that
in
ability.
effect, that's a way to take it over without, yeah.
That's the way,
No, you're
because
right.
the only other way you do it now is a referendum. This, and it only takes that one piece, you understand, I mean, you still got like a lot of miles to do.
Well,
And the town needs to realize, and the citizens need to realize, do you want the value of your property to stabilize or increase a little? And how do you get that
you
done?
promising us good times?
Let me ask another question. Has all the boundaries of all the pieces, particles of land been squared away so everybody knows where their boundary lines are? I mean, I'm a bad guy tonight.
You are, you're in the mood.
And he was horrified by the last earthquake.
Everything shifted, we're in
Do you
trouble.
know that
That's gonna take
when
more.
we were in Tennessee, there was a lake in below Cape.
Yeah, real foot lake.
You see that?
Yeah, I
The
know.
whole boundary changed.
Yeah, I know, I know.
Because
We don't have that.
So your next door becomes a wetland overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Is there anything,
Yeah, but let's get an answer to this question.
so it's a huge topic, so is there anything wrong with us saying to the town council they need to visit it?
I think
Yeah,
that's what we
and
talked
then get an
about.
answer to his
Let's
question.
come up with some idea, maybe we need to make some
I mean,
recommendations.
it's just three, maybe you guys have other ideas on how to do
No,
it.
Yeah, and get your input because
It's-
like, I think this three is like a starting point. I think this 3 point doesn't talk, I mean, each one does not talk about the equity issue.
No, but that's for they can look at these,
This is not, the number is not complete anyway, yeah, so. I mean,
well, there's a
3
lot that's not complete with the
Yeah.
roads. They're gonna
Right.
be doing
Yeah.
so much with the roads, it's a big issue, but is there anything wrong with us encouraging them?
I,
To do what?
That's for them to decide.
But you have to tell them what you're encouraging them to do.
I think that would come later, because let's start with something very obvious first,
Right.
because that is one of the solution. If you want to take over the debt, then they have to reorganize
I think,
it.
yeah, I don't
Structure
think
it.
we're ready to make any
No.
recommendations at this
Well,
meeting. I think we should.
here's what I would urge you to do is, there's a capital improvement plan, there's an engineer on board, and we're supposed to be moving on those projects.
Oh, yes, it's true.
And so what, we would be urging them to move on the projects, is that?
Either stop or
because there's expenditures going
Decision
on.
time is coming, is what he's saying.
Money's
You have to
being
make a
spent.
decision.
There's something's gotta
Take a
happen,
decision.
because right now, we're scheduled to spend $1.8 million between
This
now
year.
and September 30th.
Oh, look,
And the project, those projects will include,
and we can't spend it on collected canal, can we?
Yes, it's been approved.
It's been approved, but have we, like the answer to Ken's question, do we know the boundaries? And
We'd never be part of, you get the engineers, they go get the
That's part of
survey.
it.
Our recommendation
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that you don't embark on that project until you have a full-blown survey first, because of all the considerations.
But there's no stopping, I mean, right now, he can just tell the engineer, go get a survey, and there goes 50,000 or however.
So what's holding that up? What's holding?
Surveys?
No, the whole, spending the capital improvement dollars. What are the steps that have to take place before we can spend the 1.8 million?
Well, there's really nothing holding that up. Technically, I
So
mean,
you said, so why would we make a recommendation? I mean, I don't know what our recommendation.
Well, the issue is, if we crank up and go, the money's gonna be committed and going.
once we start, it's,
Once you start, you can't like go. you're
No,
halfway
meaning
through.
this can't be done if we're doing collecting canal.
That would be a problem,
We have to decide this or collecting canal.
depending on what option.
It's
That's why
just like
it's a good topic, it's a very good
the
topic.
collection canal is in the capital improvement plan.
Yes.
The logical move is to, let's discuss the recommendation for them, number one, to reconsider because of the following reasons. The inevitable treatment to 3,600 residents, and why are we paying for that? I think this is the beginning of it. And then for them to consider how to fund it, if we want to make it equitable for everybody. Either get the money out from the existing revenue stream, plus reallocation of the $1.8 million, and or other means that this expert will come up with some idea how we're going to pay for it. So I think the first one is, if we all agree that the $1.8 million included, is $1 million for collecting canal is equitable, I think we need to.
Yeah, that's the first question. Do we agree that it's inequitable, or do we think that the town should go ahead with it?
Were you asking me?
No, I'm just saying that is a question. that
Elise,
we
can you
answer.
make a motion for the recommendation to consider because of the inequity for use of the town's money if they spend on the collecting canal? Can you say that? I mean, I don't know how to work.
I would hate to get down the road, we're spending real money on these projects, and then somebody wakes up and goes, wait a minute, stop
Mhm.
the train.
Okay.
And we were already
Yeah.
60 or 100 or $200,000 down the road.
Which is similar to the college project. Somebody filed a lawsuit that I'm not being treated fairly, so I'm going to sue.
Well, that could happen too, you know.
No, that could happen, so I think it's,
See, I mean, you've got to be equitable to the people that live on Collecting Canal Road.
but you know, the inequity started with this project. And I don't think you're ever, you know, not to be funny, but the horse is out of the barn. And you're not going to necessarily correct that in the future. Inequity is part of any government system when it's a political process and people fight for projects. I mean, that's what goes on year to year to year. And I'll give you an example. The town just took ownership to Compton and Marcella. Those roads have been OJM for quite some time. Those people are enjoying a benefit. Yet, if you follow council meetings, those people have also come in and are asking for another application of OJM, when some roads don't have the first application. Is that equitable? You tell me, but then you're gonna always have the political fight over who's getting what. Those are the decisions council has to make. That's why good boards like you need to give them the input to address these issues.
In fact, if you go back to my earlier memo on page 2, you'll find us that prioritize the roads you want to service. Determine how the council is going to enter into debt if they're
how
going
we
to
pay.
adopt a resolution of intent, and that'll give you the whole.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. It's not really the equity or inequity that concerns me. It's the dollar amount of 1.8 million, and the fact that we're a town and we need to start thinking forward for the entire town as you talk about the transportation system. So what I'm saying is, I'm not concerned about whether it's equitable or inequitable to the people. As you said, that horse has left the barn, that ship has sailed, okay? We're a town, we've got money coming in, it's a cash flow issue. You've got 1.8 million about to leave our coffers is what concerns me. And what concerns me is the sensibility of how that 1.8 million could be used. And I mean no disrespect to residents about whether something's equitable or inequitable. I'm thinking of the residents having 1.8 million in town coffers, and how should that money be used for the benefit of the town?
That's correct. You see how means the methodology to spend it, okay? Whether you give it out free or give out to the horse to hauler into here, subsidize the truck. I mean, all those are, you tying back to where the money comes from, okay? And I think ideally that should go hand in hand. So, I mean, you're right. We have to be concerned with money in the whole.
That's what I'm looking at.
Because if we
Now,
spend that much money,
then
we're
it's
not
gone.
gonna have
So
anything
how we
left to
gonna do-
do
That is
anything
my-
else.
That is what I'm focused
Yeah,
on.
how are we going to make it, I mean, at least some business practice? I mean, why don't we spend the money to build something on Bureau, where I live, and then off-road where you live?
No, I'm just saying, but again, my point is the 1.8,
Yeah.
we all acknowledge we have 1.8 million we're concerned about.
Now, the subject of thought should be the guidance, how you spend their money. Spend the money, make everybody happy, financially sound, or fiscally conservative, or what? Now, it just happens with the word equity, equitable. It's important because, you know, not trying to bring up.
Well, I think all of you agree that cut-through traffic is a problem in this community.
Absolutely.
Correct.
If you don't do something about collecting Canal Road, we're just ignoring, we're putting blinders on. And we're allowing a problem to exist that doesn't need to exist. We need to funnel that traffic around our town, up southern, to get to the college, rather than through our town. And that's our number one problem. We've got Okeechobee, same deal. They four-lane Okeechobee. You know what it's gonna do? We're gonna have the Yankees north of Okeechobee, and you're gonna have the Confederates south of Okeechobee. I mean, that's what it's gonna amount to. It's gonna cut this town in half.
We're gonna be the
And I don't like that.
I thought Florida consider all of the north.
Say what?
Florida, anyone lives in Florida, consider from real
Oh,
north. Except Tallahassee, if you live in Tallahassee, they consider south.
Oh, it's crazy.
So why don't we focus on something more concrete now? If we all agree that they need to reconsider the position to spend $1 million on collecting canal, we get $1.8 million pile, I think we need to say it. And
Okay.
do we have a motion to the word,
I'll make a motion to reconsider,
to ask the town
to reconsider the 1 million for collecting now.
Okay.
Yeah, at this time or however.
No, you know, we can write up what the reasons are, write up our rationale, but are we in favor or yes? Does anybody second that?
Do we have a second? Motion by Reese.
I second it as long as we can write up our reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my.
Oh, we actually would.
Seconded.
Yeah, we would,
Yeah. I think we should talk about that too.
okay, okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Elise, second by.
And then, yeah, we'll just say reconsider, and then we'll list, everybody can list the reasons, and then
Concerns.
just see the concerns that we have.
Or the reason.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
all right.
discussion. Do we want to list those reasoning why it needs to be considered?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, why do we work on that? I think we work that out.
Start with Ken.
Well, I've already stated my reasons.
State it again.
Well, the one is the consideration of what traffic would have a
Hurricane,
negative effect.
who's going to do it?
Oh,
Virginia, yeah.
oh, wait, and okay, I get you right, hold on. Should have seen that
I know
coming.
Perla writes good minutes.
No, okay,
The
okay.
first would be consideration of,
Negative, in other words, the impact of cut-through traffic throughout town rather than around out town.
The impact of cut-through traffic.
After,
Throughout town.
after the state college is started or completed, and also the
Well, even before and, before, during, yeah.
and also the incoming of the potential expansion of Okeechobee. And also Faac Meeting will be
Well,
expanded.
potential of surrounding
That doesn't
communities,
balance.
yeah, I don't, income potential of surrounding
Major roads, like,
communities and future expansion, possible expansion. Okeechobee Boulevard. And we are saying
We
these
need-
are reasons to.
We need to funnel
that
the
we're
traffic
recommending that they reconsider.
around out town rather than throughout town.
Funnel traffic around our town.
You have any reasons
That
or?
would be an attractive nuisance.
I think you guys have covered it. I was just going to say that maybe that the managers could come back with a little bit more detail for each of these, the first two, because we all agree that the third option is like non-existent.
Non-touchable.
No, you can't touch them. So maybe the first
So
two are
management-
delved into a little bit more to see if we
Managers
do
come back with more detail.
Consideration of.
consideration of it,
of
expanding a
other
bit further on these two
methods of-
options.
Isn't, it's kind of like what he did here on this last page, is that what we're talking about?
No, she's talking about.
I'm
Yeah, I know one
I'm
and
talking
two.
about the, how to, what can we do with, because you can talk about the roads, okay, fine, we tabled the 1.8 million for now, but we still
We
have.
don't
Restrict
pay
it.
for it. We are asking the town council to reconsider how to spend money. We have no authority to table. it.
Right, we're just asking to reconsider.
No, right, but that's what I mean, they have, we're asking them to do that, all you
To
reasons
put
around
about
it.
1.8 million expenditure on hold is what we're
Right.
basically asking.
Look into it further and see if there's a better option for that, because quite honestly, and I'll be
Maybe
honest,
for
if I didn't have to, if I don't have to drive the dirt roads, I won't. I'll cut through. Because Compton is paved, I'll go up Compton, up F, and take as much of the paved road as I can.
So you're taking all those other people's assessment money and using it?
But I'm also driving on my dirt roads, which I know will.
And also, the number one, to further elaborate it,
Or
the
I
number
don't-
one, because that.
Wait a minute,
we-
number one, you want me to go back to
No,
number?
no, 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 no. I think that what we need to also mention is that because, the point we just made, that would need a more comprehensive engineering, traffic engineering study
Right.
to make it work.
Yeah.
Because there are potential of the cut through from the college, from Okeechobee, from Faac Meeting, and then later on that when Southern is expanded. And all these are unknown.
Okay, so we need more comprehensive traffic engineering study to document patterns,
Or to confirm the need.
to confirm. Oh,
But you don't know what the needs are gonna be until that college gets over.
Right.
That's what I mean, a more comprehensive.
future traffic,
Yeah.
comprehensive future traffic engineering study to confirm
Turn it
the
down?
traffic,
Oh,
the
turn it
intensity,
up.
the intensity of
Yeah,
traffic.
I think traffic engineering study is sufficient.
Okay,
Thank you.
for future,
Because, you know what happened? Because now you spend money on their road, that may not solve the solution. So it may
Right.
So what
encourage
about,
more cut through.
that's like when they build something, they don't put down the sidewalks, they let people walk across to see where the traffic flow really is
Okay.
in the grass, okay,
well, you know,
fine.
the development, we've got 2 new developments that outside our community.
Right.
That are gonna impact this community if they go
Right.
in. And there needs to be negotiations with those people to say, look, you know, you're coming through like, like Ken said, on the 4 lane in Okeechobee. What are you gonna do for us to help?
Well, they've
offset?
offered money to the town, is my understanding.
Right, so that's another reason.
We put a toll road in.
Can that money be used to pay for
subsidizing
impact
paying for
on-
power
Okay, so what, how do I wanna say this, Elise, your point?
Well, we're saying, evaluate,
Future,
future sources of funding.
well, and that's all encompassing, because
from-
that could cover a lot of things.
Right, future sources of funding from,
other big development.
other outside developments, which is, that's already under discussion. I mean, we're gonna have to negotiate with these people, not only for that, but for Okeechobee.
I'm sorry?
Put in
Minto,
return money.
Minto was on the agenda.
Yeah.
Can you approve it? How many?
Other outside
Seven up.
developments,
A traffic
Seven
light,
real
a
approvals.
turn lane.
7-0.
We're
If
dead.
they come through with the 4 lanes of.
I know, I get an email.
Concrete
You're
barrier
louder.
down the middle of our history.
well, what I'd like to add to number 5, and this is just my, when you say evaluate future sources of funding from other outside developments, impossible bond,
No,
and
this
impossible.
is talking about the outside, like the developer.
Right, but we're also
There's a
talking
form-
about sources of
Don't mix up.
funding.
Let's separate, because
Yeah,
this is
separate,
paid by
okay.
somebody.
Okay.
We don't have
See,
to pay.
we've already got a commitment, I believe, from both the landowners.
Highland don't.
No, not something different, from, what's the guy's name on the corner? 97 acres.
Sign property.
Simon property and the Sun Coast, whatever it is, the other property,
So, sounds.
To pay
Yeah.
for,
to pay for the paving
right.
of B Road all the way from Southern all the way to Okeechobee. And put speed bumps in there
Mhm.
at our specifications. That's committed.
Yeah,
That's a done
that's
deal.
great. Somebody wants to pay for it, let's take
That's
the money.
right.
You
And
know,
we need to take the money.
absolutely, we need to take
You know,
money. But we also need to look and see if we can get money from some of these other people.
I agree with you.
Impact other
The
areas.
Dunes has put aside either $20,000 or $30,000 to pay for some things up and down
So,
Southern Boulevard.
what do you do? They're gonna, no,
Now, we need to take advantage of that money.
that's not enough to.
My recommendation on one thing was to, you go further west and they've got blinking lights. When the traffic light's gonna turn red, gives you a warning. We need that same thing at the intersection up here at D Road, if we get that cut through there, and we need it at B Road. We've gotta do something to slow these dump trucks down. It's a road race with these guys.
Okay, can I say my thing now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Well, you interrupted me when I was talking.
That's
so-
okay,
But I'm
that's all
sorry.
right, that we do that to each other all the time. The point I'd like to add is kind of where Cheryl was saying, management should come back with options. I will be the bad guy here, and I just might, I will say this, these are individual opinions that we're listing here as to why we suggest stopping the expenditure of the 1.8 and reviewing options. My point is, go ahead and look at management's, you throw everything up against the wall
Sure.
and you see what sticks. So go ahead and look at management's suggestion of number 1 and 2, which,
Yeah.
that's something there also,
It
to the town
absolutely needs to
council.
be thought of. in
Yeah, I
the
mean, not number
context
3,
of those
decided number 3
problems.
should not be touched.
What's
But-
the number?
I'm being
No.
generous, we said number 3.
We're all agreed.
Number 3.
Everybody agrees.
I personally think in that sense, number
It's
2.
like buying
would be
real
our best.
estate, you don't look at the third house.
No, you don't.
Yeah, so they show you 3, there's one you don't touch, so, sure, I'll put that down, 1 and 2, would be something town council might consider.
Yeah, they need to really look at the road project in light of all the other things that are going on. I think that's a good way to.
Have a
do it.
master plan for the
See if there's something
community.
better for that 1.8 million, and if they did assume it from the water control district, what could be the options to do with or without, in that sense?
I think the concept, Regina, you may not agree, is regarding the equitable distribution of resources.
Right.
We could mention it too.
Okay, no, these are all our individual points, so say that again so I can write it down.
Spending the money on connecting canal at this time,
Wait a minute, hold on.
spending $1 million on connecting canal does not serve the best interest of other residents. who don't live on that road.
Okay. I think we've got a nice basket.
That is inequitable to the people on collecting ground, period.
Okay, should I add that also inequitable, because you were concerned about equity, what he just, should I add that or no?
No, I mean,
It
it's
should
really,
be. It's a statement that's being made by this
Well,
group.
I'll make it number 9, that's your
What is
statement.
it, what
It's
is it?
But I
it's
think-
also inequitable, his statement was it's also inequitable, the 1.8 million is inequitable to the residents of Collecting.
No, the traffic that's gonna be created, not unless we get it paid.
I think it should tie to the truck engineering study that part. We can say that all this future development and the roadway expansion could result in, what is it,
Traffic jams.
future traffic issue for people on Connecting Canal.
Especially
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
consider you've got buses going down that road for the high school, for the elementary, and for the middle school children. And most people don't realize, hey, stupid, that bus is being
Could result
told to heck
in
out.
a worse,
Could result,
in a worse traffic
You'd be surprised, these people have no clue.
I would not be surprised.
for the residents on Connecting Canal. And
Okay,
that is
so
why
anything
the
we do
future
we
engine, traffic engineering study is very important.
If I can push you out of
Take
the
it
loop,
into
I'm going for
consideration
it.
of-
If you can push me, I'm going.
Okeechobee, Pagarini, Southland River, and B-Row being paid for by college and development.
No sleeping on the job.
I'm gonna have fun presenting this.
When is the
Oh,
next
they
meeting?
shoot me.
When is the next meeting?
I'll have to stand there while they take pot shots at me. Okey dokes.
When's the next meeting?
well, let's think of that anyway, don't they?
Yes, that's why you guys throw me up there, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
I just dodge those bullets.
Is it special
It's a
meeting
good
today?
job, you do.
Oh, yeah.
Is anything special that day?
Well,
Target on the front and the back.
Along?
it's a heavy agenda. Heavy.
That's what happens when you go to one meeting a month.
What?
Maybe one of us go to the meeting.
One
Give
of
them a
us-
pay raise, they cut it to one meeting a month.
And we can see a few words.
Well, I think just stopping the use of the money right now may give them time to think, I hope.
I think if you could get people focused on how to develop an equitable system,
In the
that
long
would
term,
take care of, that would
In the long
actually
term.
address all your problems.
in the
But
long term.
that
You
is
just
the-
like that word equitable after you give us a speech about inequitable.
Well, I'm just telling you that it's, the current structure is inequitable.
Yeah, equitable
She's driving on
system.
somebody else's road that they paid for. You're
Yeah.
driving on somebody else's road that somebody.
That's right.
And don't think that
I'm
every
also
other
giving
resident
up
who's
my-
on
more of my
non-paper
land.
didn't go on a paper.
But I'm also giving up more of my land for easement that I'm not being paid for. So to me, it's a wash, it's a financial wash.
Virginia, could you say
Want to
that
talk numbers with me?
in the long run, as well as the short term, that the town needs to come up with, what is it?
And
It's
it's
an
an,
Equitable solution.
An equitable system
it's an equitable system.
A plan
for,
for.
It's a trans.
You're searching for a more equitable system.
A more equitable transportation system.
more equitable transportation system or plan?
System, because what you're developing, or what you would hope to develop, is a system where you're gonna shuttle people over that way to Southern instead of through Collecting Canal or some other road to the school.
More equitable system to benefit.
To benefit all the residents.
all the residents.
Because we're concerned about the residents
Yes.
first.
Yes, I mean, that's the whole.
The purpose of being a town.
Okay, good.
And I have not checked the benefits of Land Design South recently. But the last conversation that I had with them was, a design of people exiting that college property in there to have to turn right and force them to go to Southern to get out of that. And that was still in place last time I talked to him, but it's been several months since I've talked to him. So in other words, that also would help us cut down on traffic flow, because we don't want all those students coming out and heading up B Road and collecting them out, and to A Road or wherever the hell they wanna go.
Okay, you know the 6 Ps of planning, correct?
Well, tell me, and I'll.
Well, there's the first word's bad, but it's, so, planning provides for performance.
This board planning
Planning
provides for performance. I've heard that before.
If you don't plan for the eventuality that these things are gonna happen, you've got the thing, the Mentos coming in,
Yeah,
you've got the thing coming well, you've gotta put your plan in play.
You
And
gotta
if you
think
don't,
ahead.
you're gonna get run over.
we're gonna get buried,
Correct.
annihilated.
That's right.
So
If
you
we're not
pick how you wanna
out
be
there.
annihilated. You're gonna change. The question is, how much of it can you?
Are you gonna do it your way, or are you gonna do it by force, because you have to, you wait until the last minute?
Mhm.
Well, it's gonna be shoved down your throat.
Basically,
Yeah.
you can do it your way, or wait until somebody does it for you.
And Ken, in the plan, they still have it, when they come out, they're forced to go to the right.
At any rate,
That's good.
if there's a mechanism to do the equity, I think that would resolve your problems.
Part.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we have our motion, do we want to vote?
Yes,
Are you ready to vote?
Let's say the motion.
okay,
Motion is to reconsider.
The appropriation of the 1.8 million for collecting now.
It's
Well,
1
then-
million for collecting.
It's only $1 million for collecting.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, $1
1.8.
million for
I mean, some of it,
Total,
we're
okay.
redoing some roads that were already done once, and
okay.
Okay.
So
On
is
the
it,
recommendation,
is it the 1.8 or it's just the collecting canal?
It's just the
portion?
collecting canal 1 million is what we were,
Okay.
Well,
unless somebody wants to amend it.
I would like to amend it to consider the total 1.8. I mean, if we're talking about the future of the town and all the money, let's consider the total 1.8.
What's the 0.8 for?
uh,
I don't have a copy of our capital budget,
All right, we'll do a quick run through. Surveying town roads is
but that
$100,000.
has to be done.
Yeah.
yeah, we still need to do that.
Yeah,
Ojum collecting canal is $943,630. Okeechobee and D Road traffic light is $250.
but we're not asking them to reconsider that, are we?
They actually are, well, in a way. You may remember council gave me direction to have our consultants do a cost study.
Okay.
There's been so many discussions about what it's going to cost, is it gonna be a mast arm or signal, et cetera, et
Well, they
cetera.
can keep it in there. We're just saying reconsider
Well, but
the use of
we're already
1.8.
spending money.
Yeah.
The issue is the money is going.
But the study may potentially curtail, I'm not saying, might.
Yeah, because we don't know how much that traffic runs.
Town road Ojum projects, $100,000. $80,000 for trails.
what was the $100,000?
Just, we
Compton,
have to do
Marcella.
Compton, Marcella, and Ryan.
I
Right.
think they need to be considered too, because it's again benefiting.
And that's why I raised those roads
That's
before.
benefiting them too.
What?
We service the Compton Drive and so,
That's more of a maintenance issue, isn't it? They have,
Brian needs it.
Brian really does.
Brian really needs it. Brian
These are roads that have already
potted
been
this and
owned,
worse
what they're talking about doing is filling potholes on them, isn't it? And that's really.
No, I think they were
No,
gonna
they
like
wanna do the
scrape it
whole-
up.
They want,
put it down the end.
they want
They
complete
they
treatment.
suggested potholes and the people there raised hell about that and said they wanted the thing redone completely.
They got two more, and $80,000 on trails, you heard that one, right?
Mhm.
$300,000 for the D Road to Southern Boulevard paving. And then
I would
finally,
ask
What
them
was it?
for sure to reconsider.
$300,000 for paving from the bridge to Southern Boulevard, Ojum to Collecting Canal.
Why would we do that?
That's the issue of the traffic signal and D and Southern.
I think I have, what about,
Okay, so maybe you wanna withhold
Cons-
everything except doing the survey.
And here's an important one, $28,934 for road acquisition.
That one's gotta go. You
That-
gotta leave that in play.
That one stinks.
I think we should consider thinking
I
about,
think you guys need that one.
Maybe you should leave 128,000.
The item for the old.
What we've never considered though, when we talk about this, you know, is that if the water control district, you know, the people that are on the OGM roads, like me, okay, we're getting assessed an increased amount for the road paving, but we're also getting assessed a reduced amount for maintenance. And so, you know, I realize this is a district issue, but if those landowners didn't have to pay for their roads, the district would then, and the district at the same time increase the maintenance assessment so that everybody paid the same maintenance assessment. Then it would mean that the entire $307,000 note could be offset by a reduction in the amount that the town pays to the water control district. In other words, the town wouldn't have to pay the water control district as much. They're paying them $150,000 right now, but hey, if the district said, well, everybody that, you know, since you're not paying for your road, now you've got to pay for the maintenance the same as everybody else, then it wouldn't be as much net to the town. And we never really look at that because you know.
I don't have access to the books of the district to put, that's why
Right, I
my
know.
first position would be to combine the two so you
Just
have
combine
one
them and
set
then
of dollars.
you have more money if you combine them, because it would be easier to do this. Yeah.
I think can we conclude this subject so that we can move on?
Okay,
So
so what
let's
is our
just
motion?
get
Let's
started.
get to the motion.
Is it $1,000,008 less $128,932?
So maybe we don't want it to even, so what do you want, 1.5, or what do you wanna say?
I
I
think
think we're getting, well.
Yeah, what do you wanna,
if
just
you
leave it
want
at
to
$1
be
million?
consistent, I think we should consider in this recommendation, the road on Compton, the argument for on D road between whatever
Yeah.
it is and Collecting Canal. All these are very similar, that certain residents will be,
The road project.
the road project,
Collecting Canal Compton.
yeah.
Well, let's hold up a second. I think
That's specific.
there's something that, in connection with the widening of Southern Boulevard and an intersection into a unpaved road, that the state DOT will not accept, and they mandate that you have to pave X amount of feet down D road, and that we've got to pay for it. We, the town, has to pay for it. So you can't exclude it.
Well, don't forget, they're not mandating you have to do it. What they're saying is, in terms of the, justifying the signal at that location, they generally don't approve signals when it's a dirt road.
Right.
It can meet the warrant for Southern Boulevard, but they can't meet the warrant for D. The question is, even if you paved it, are you going to get enough traffic on it to suggest that it then warrants a signal? And that's why they are working with us. They're supposed to do the counts in November, when hopefully we'll be able to have a higher count on D Road. But I'd be careful to think that it's a guarantee that because we paved it, we're automatically going to get that signal. Studies may not bear it out.
I think something.
Well, when in November is that going to be?
I'm not sure what week they, you know.
Everybody needs to know that.
You'd be driving all day every day.
I think I think if this is a condition that DOT put on us, then naturally the town council is going to say no to us for that section. So I think it would be safe to put it in and let them make a final decision. Because like you said.
Well, then you can't exclude it from what you're talking about, right?
No, I mean, because these few things, we're not sure yet, because he said that it's not a guarantee after the original that they will put a traffic signal there, because we don't know how much traffic is going to be. So I think if we put these three things together, because they are all similar, just using the term,
Carries the idea of what you're discussing.
yeah. And then lift, I would suggest we lift the rest, because those are needed and they are different in nature.
And I just thought of another comment that might word a little bit differently what I thought you were saying, and that is that, if we spend the significant amounts for capital improvements of our current budget, the town is not taxing at a sufficient rate to be able to replenish that quickly. So that's really the issue here. You know, we can do this, but then when these other projects come up in the future, we're not gonna have the money to do those unless we raise taxes, because we're not taking in enough. So, I mean, that I think is the concern that people really have. It's not, yeah, I want everybody to get their road free, but, you know, it just,
Well, if that is the concept, that would be good, if everybody get the roof.
I'd love for everybody to get their road
Unfortunately,
free, but there's no Santa Claus, you
There
know?
might be, we never know. If we stall them long enough, there might be a
it's not.
Santa
Do you have
Claus.
any other comment? Why don't we, conclude this part and move on, because we still have a lot.
Yeah,
Let's take a vote. You want to do it now? Are we
Yeah.
ready?
I think so.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor for this recommendation with the reasoning, by saying aye? Aye.
Nay.
Opposed?
Nay.
We have one opposed.
Motion carries.
All right.
I'm gonna be calling you, Perla, to get this motion, so I can say it.
Descendant. Okay. Good. What's next now? New business, we combine
5AC.
5A and C. Okay, do we have a motion to approve fiscal year 2013 August and September financial?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Cheryl, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Virginia. Discussion.
I had one item, and I'm looking for where I turned the page down, so there isn't. It had to do with the planning and zoning.
Oh, this one?
There were two.
Page 80.
No, it's way down.
Which page?
Give me a second, I'll find it, I turned it down. Okay, page 155 of 191. Just so you know, I read that far, through this. The work authorization 1301CE and work authorization, what I'm looking at is under professional services, 001-515-310-000 account. On September the 9th, there were the last two invoices, okay? Were those paid to the town engineer?
Yes.
Okay, is it a planning and zoning expense?
No, it's under professional services.
But it's under professional services, planning and zoning, isn't it?
No, I think professional services is a generic.
No.
Is it planning and zoning?
That's where we budgeted
This
for
is
the
for planning
engineers
and
though.
zoning.
That's where we
Yeah.
had budgeted for the engineer.
Yes.
Okay, but so is that where we're supposed to be putting these? What was the engineer doing?
The engineer has two current projects at the time. The first is the FEMA flood maps, being our representative.
Would be
working.
That would be planning and zoning. The other
The
one?
second is the analysis relative to the SIDR invoicing.
That's
or
not
SIDR
planning and
invoicing.
zoning.
That's
Not.
not necessarily planning, that's more of a financial, contractual issue.
Right now, we
Is
have
it,
to
can
handle,
that be charged the gas tax?
The
Is it
engineer.
run rate in what year?
they were doing the SIDAR on the cubic
That's
yard,
the analysis.
the analysis of.
I thought maybe we could charge it to gas tax,
It was really a solid
So,
waste.
well,
No, it was a
Oh,
contractual
they're
issue on
cutting
road
the
maintenance. It was-
vegetation.
yeah.
I mean, I looked at it solid waste.
Really, it's illegal. It
It's not
should
solid.
be charged under legal. It's illegal.
No, this was an engineering
It-
expense.
Right,
But it's for the
It's for the
legal.
legal,
It's, we don't have any place to charge that to right now. The only thing we can
It's
address it is
advisory.
in a budget amendment that we're gonna be working on this week to present so we can close out the year. That would have to be moved somewhere. Realistically, right now, we're having legal fees being charged, and we're charging it to the legal. That's the only place we have.
Can we can't, it's not eligible for gas tax?
Yeah, we could probably stick it under there.
Under gas, I think you might get by with it, that's what I thought. Okay,
Road, you're talking
cool.
Transportation.
We need to use it, transportation expense. Okay, that was my
Oh,
own.
that's good, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions, Cindy?
No,
And what was the dollar amount?
it was,
33,000 number.
600, 3660.
Cheryl, no question? Virginia? No questions for 2 months? I don't think-
They're doing a good job, I mean, congratulations. Yes, sir.
See, that's how we spend most of our time to discuss the first item.
Yeah.
Sure, Virginia, Ken, you have any questions?
Not right now.
Okay, good, that's, no more questioning, bank statement, ledger, bank reconciliation, nothing? Good. Let's call the question. All those in favor for 5A and C, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 0, motion carries. Okay, the 5B, review of planning and zoning renewal. Just review, we don't need
Yeah,
to
it's
take
just,
action.
just.
Yeah, unless somebody's got questions.
Anybody has any question for 5B?
No.
No? Sure, Virginia? Good,
No, I'm waiting to get
let's
cert.
move on. 5D, review of planning and zoning invoices for September.
There weren't any.
No, nothing? None?
No.
Good. Sorry. these
Oh,
things.
wait a minute, planning and zoning invoices?
No, there's none.
September.
Oh,
September,
September,
none.
okay.
There weren't.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's move on to, I think we've done, I know we've done it fine, right?
Reimbursements.
Okay, let's talk about, for number 6, 6A, reimbursement. This is
That's
reimbursement.
administrative update, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any question, any comment?
6 what?
We're at
6A,
6A.
6, okay.
any questions? Seeing none?
I received CERT
Oh, we have one, okay.
postcard. Just one comment that the postcard done by CERT was very nice, very professional.
Yeah, it was.
What page is-
It's on page
185.
185.
Mine's black and white, so I haven't seen.
I got a color.
And I thought it was a great way for the
Good.
community to be reminded about the CERT team.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That's a
Sir.
good value for the
Can
students.
thank, please relate this to the member of the church.
I will.
We do appreciate it.
We have picked up a couple of people off of that. I think it's a good reminder that the service that the CERT team does for this community and how many dollars that we volunteer and save this town thousands of dollars. And I mean thousands. You couldn't put a price tag on what the CERT team does for this community. Not only for the CERT, but also for the, like the H1N1 virus. All of us that wanted to volunteer for that went down and were certified by the health department and set up all the apparatus in case we needed to have a distribution point for medications here in our own community for our own residents here, plus you folks that work here, and anybody else in the water district that works here, rather than going to a central place of a school, getting on a bus, and going to the county's distribution point. You'd have been on the bus for like 8 hours to get medication. So that's what we have done, and, you know, we're here for the community. So
I would
that's what this was all about, yes.
Can y'all turn to page 96? There was one more reimbursement that was thrown in with the August bills. Since Ken was tooting his horn about CERT, I thought I'd toot our horn about our staff. You know, you need to understand that we're dedicated to this community too, when the staff members themselves are paying for town.
Oh, my gosh.
That happens on a regular basis. Our employees pick up the tab and then get reimbursed from the town later. Y'all need to know
You
that
could toot
No, I
that
saw-
doesn't happen in the normal world.
you could toot the UMSG horn for having to pay the expenses for the,
The recording fees for all the
Recording, yeah.
transfer of the roads we paid for as well. The town has no mechanism still to be able to write a check before we got a paid invoice. So I can't walk into the clerk of the court's office with a blank check just signed by the council and then fill it in. So the staff has to pick up the tabs for the town bills on things like that.
There's no check request format pre-approval.
But I'd have
You
to
don't know
have,
what it is until you
yeah,
get
till
there.
you get there.
You can't even do an
And-
approximation of the expense.
You don't
No.
want the
You
exact.
have to-
Recording fees are
You-
established by the,
But
And they don't take a credit card.
they don't take a credit card and they take a check
This
or
is
cash.
detail.
And we don't have petty cash.
We appreciate it.
I just wanted to toot my staff's, they are dedicated as well.
We know that, you know, but thank you.
Susan does a great
Well,
job.
I thought since Ken was, I could
And like
You're stealing their
Like
thunder.
we said, that we appreciate.
put the word in for the team.
And also, I remember that regarding the new training, for the first thing, I remember that when I was traveling, that I see it on the TV that they actually kids that be careful with all the birds, don't get too close, don't feed them, don't touch them, and even you go to the market, that you don't touch the birds at all.
And actually, I don't know if you've noticed it around our community, the health department has put up, little paper units to test for the bird flu right now. They're testing
The
for it.
little,
There's a
triangle thing?
little yellow thing. It's about a little bit, about that big, and it's
Well,
yellow.
that was for the dengue fever mosquitoes, that's not what that is.
It's for both, I think.
okay, moving along, I think we're done, right? Any other thing, will you say anything? Okay, closing comment. Public, we don't have nobody from public, Ken, any comment?
No, I think I should not, please. Thank you.
Okay, Virginia?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I'm just, the main topic that I am presenting is the promotion and our points,
The recommendation.
the recommendation, the motion, and the reasons. Okay, meeting.
Release.
Just thank everybody for participating in the discussion in a thoughtful way, and I don't think there are easy answers, you know, to where we need to go, but
It's not easy.
there's no easy answers. We've got to figure out a path, and I thank the town and Town Management Company for the work you all did and helping us to do that for an excellent set of financials.
Very rousing meeting this evening, and let's hope that our efforts will pay off in the future of how we go forward.
Try and come back along.
Hello, do you have any comment? No? Bill?
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, I do have one other comment.
Okay, sorry, Mark.
Yeah, that's okay. Now I'm letting you speak. You know, I try to look at what's good for the total town. And I think one of the best things that we can do to raise, because somebody said something about land values and what land values were worth. Okay. The best thing that I see that can raise our land values, I mean, you brought a thing in that said, yeah, you did it. that said that the land values in Loxahatchee Groves were down 6.1%
Well,
against
Okay,
other
that
towns
was
in Palm Beach County. Wonder why? Well, if you start looking around at our environment, we're very rural, it's very true. But why can't we be clean and rural?
Yeah.
That's the big hang-up in our town, is how we present ourselves to the other communities. Now, to get land values up here
You're right.
in our town, one, we've got to clean it up. We've got to make it, although it's still rural, if we get the trash picked up and get the place looking better, it's going to be more advantageous for people to see the value in our vacant lands over here, come over here and build a $500,000 house. How much are they going to pay in taxes?
That's what we need.
That's what we need. Do we need horse trails? Absolutely we need horse trails. We need them east and west, north and south. Hell, I don't even own a horse. You know, but we need that to make our community look attractive,
beautify it.
to raise our land values. Now, some people have already come over here and started buying because they realize there's some value. Look at how many horse stables,
Right.
riding pads,
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all this stuff that's beginning to happen here. So we need more of that, but we've got to clean up and make our town look more acceptable to people coming over here. Now, we've got a new contract in place for waste management, correct?
Correct.
How's it coming?
Not very well.
Okay? Why?
Well, in the first month of the new contract, their performance has been very inadequate. Pitiful,
Okay.
if you will.
With wholesale
Okay,
people.
wait, let's.
So, we are monitoring their activities.
Mhm.
We, when we did this contract, we have put in a number of safeguards and toughened the language as it relates
Right.
to fines and requirements that they have to meet. And I think Waste Pro is probably going to be shocked when we do the October billing, because there are going to be a number of fines
Okay,
reducing that amount based upon very poor service.
okay.
And they need to get it cleared up very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if I receive a call from corporate very soon after
Well, that's okay.
So they're gonna beat up our garbage cans and destroy our property while you guys fight it out?
No, because they'll buy you new
that.
cans.
We're fighting for you.
I don't know,
Or
I've
miss
been
us all
cans and
together.
getting abused.
Well, I mean, I appreciate your candid, observation of what the, new plan was doing. But yes, I mean, we've got to do that to make them come into line to help get us clean. I mean, and we all ourselves and our neighbors and our little neighborhood within the town have got to try to do this too. But it's a big job, but to make our land values go up, that's what we need to have. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mark?
Very thoughtful discussion tonight, Mr. Chair. I think the town is at a crossroads, and a lot of the discussion we've had tonight, single issues brought up by various members, another one to consider. We talked about it a little bit, and I'll be very brief, but code enforcement is very important. We are receiving a lot of calls in the office for people who want us to do code enforcement, but are afraid to give their name and sign the affidavit because they're concerned about retribution. And I'm starting to see a prevailing thought that there is some concern that the town won't do code enforcement. Now, I have to talk very generically in that. I mean, there are some code enforcement issues that just aren't appropriate anyway, but nevertheless, those are the kinds of things I think that the town is at a very critical point in its evolution, and we need to be looking at these things very carefully, maybe re-examine some of the visions that were originally adopted when the town incorporated. So just food for thought. Thank you, you all. Remain my favorite board.
Still?
Still.
Thank you.
Wow.
I think tonight is
You
very.
know, do you want us to?
Sorry,
put that-
Virginia, but
Could we put that on our agenda for, you know, the next time to evaluate or look at the implications of going to a different type of code enforcement?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
I think that's very, very appropriate, what Ken brought up.
I think
It has
it's,
to be
yeah.
equitable for everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, when you have two, you have to, that's what we call, we have an equal opportunity for you. Ken bring up good point. I think a bigger picture is how can we increase our value of property?
Wouldn't that be falling under code enforcement as well? The cleaning up of.
Just the opposite, code enforcement falling under the big umbrella of
Right.
how to increase the
Of
property.
cleaning, you know, being able to
Cleaning,
clean up the property.
Code enforcement, we're talking about, last couple of times, talk about the people have given idea here, some for, some against, state college, you know, things like that, because that's not so much of a consensus. I would suggest that maybe we could start in our next meeting, put it on agenda to get some idea from you guys, and come up with something for the board, for the council, for their workshop material. I think, like you said, it is time for the council to re-examine their vision, and after the incorporation.
See, there's one thing that, about the college that and I hate to take up everybody's time, but the college is always gonna be there. You're gonna never see a for rent sign. You're never gonna see a vacant building. They are there, they take care of their own security, they take care of their own beautification. What an asset to this community to say that we've got a state college. And that's what we need to take advantage of, along with some of these other things.
You're correct, Ken. 40-some years ago, I came to this country for education.
Mhm.
We, at the time, when I went to college, only 1.27 kids out of 100 kids could get into college. That's how limited the space was.
Oh, true.
1.27. That means less than 2 kids had the chance to go to college. In every 100.
Speaking on that, and
But anyway,
on Elisa's idea of sources of funding, maybe we should go after the county, and it's a point, in the state, in future things to ask for funding because of the impact that college will have. So there's a thought, we need to look at them for funding.
Mr. Manager, can we put on the agenda next time to brainstorm about Ken's idea?
absolutely.
The cleanup, the other thing, code enforcement will be falling into that category. I'm sure you will come up with other things that we could, maybe could help put the framework together, and then I think the council need to have another workshop on Sunday, on Saturday. And with the donuts and coffee, I think they need, we haven't seen those for a while.
You put Pearl in charge, we'll get some great times, right, Pearl?
Thank you, Colin. Okay, thank you guys, thank you for
Thank you, folks.
very constructive comment. Do we have a motion there, Chair?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second by Paul.
I'll second.
Second by Cheryl, motion by Ken. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nobody.
Everybody said aye.